Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special event, I suppose, within in the Brothers Take, where we are here. Well, I'm here because I am the only one who has played this game. The other two decided to be like, "No, I don't want to play it." But we are here to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, published in 2015 in May. Uh, it was their game that really put CD Projekt Red, I think, on the map. Like, they did do the other two. They did The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, but I think The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the one that really just elevated them to a whole new level with this incredible masterpiece of an RPG. So I am here to talk about what this game means to me, really, because there's definitely been multiple times Chris was asked me over the years what's my favorite game, and I've never really been able to give him a straight answer. And I think there was an episode we did it, and I said Skyrim, and there was definitely a time when Skyrim was, but Skyrim is very much held back, I think, by its gameplay. I think everything else is fine. I just think the gameplay of Skyrim holds Skyrim back. It's like the only real thing that pushes me to maybe want to build my own PC so that I can mod Skyrim to make Skyrim have gameplay a little closer to The Witcher 3. Because I think The Witcher 3's gameplay is fantastic. I think its world design is fantastic. I think the world of The Witcher, created by Andrzej Sapkowski, is fantastic. It's honestly, I was playing this game, and I think around that time, Game of Thrones was big and hot. And I just thought to myself, the Witcher universe pretty much covers all the same stuff Game of Thrones covers, but actually justifies being a fantasy. Because when it deals with racial tension, it's dealing with the idea of humans versus non humans. When it deals with persecution of magic, or even just the use of magic, Game of Thrones is very little magic. The Witcher, there's a lot of magic. It has fantasy, fantastical beasts and creatures, but done in a dark, more twisted way. It deals with political intrigue and politics, and that you have these kings and emperors, but none of them are solely good the way that you probably have in something like Lord of the Rings. So they are closer in extent, I suppose, to Game of Thrones, much more complex characters of leadership. But again, justifies the idea of it being a fantasy world, because if you take out the fantasy elements of something like Game of Thrones, you tell the same story, because the War of the Roses, or the 100-Year War between England and France. So if you take away the fantasy elements of Game of The Witcher, you don't have The Witcher. I don't know what you have if you take away the fantasy element. You take away the elves and the dwarves and the halflings and the leshens and vampires and higher vampires and drakes and dragons, and you take away the sorcerers and the witchers, because the witchers are made of science and alchemy. There's a fantasy element to them, these superhuman beings. You don't have the Witcher anymore. It's so steeped in this darker version, almost going back to the old ways of when you look at old mythological creatures. They were dangerous and horrifying, and usually our myths and legends tell of superhuman beings, essentially demigods, having to fight them off. And so that's what a Witcher is, a superhuman being. But instead of being revered and loved the way Heracles would have been, or the way Artemis and Freya and Thor and the Dagdamor would have been, which were all demigods and gods, they're hated, they're persecuted. That's pretty much everything is in The Witcher, creating this very isolationist feel. But yet there's a comfort to it. There's a weirdly enough that because you're roaming the lands on your own, it feels nice, and that's probably due to is also the music that you feel. Like when you go to Skellige and you hear that music, it's so beautiful and harmonious, and you love it. When you go through the likes of Velen, the dark, damp swamps, and the very war-ridden province of Velen, it feels sad, but you almost feel sorry for the people, not Witcher. You don't feel sorry for Geralt, because that's just the world that's just the life he lives. He lives an isolationist lifestyles all Witchers do. But you almost feel sorry for the people of Velen, but you feel hope for the people of Skellige, and you feel joy, I suppose, when you're in Toussaint and Novigrad. You get that sense of everything seems great, but it's not really, especially when you see the pyres as all the people are, all the non-humans burning. And it's a game that, because I only played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I've seen stuff from the other two games, um, but The Witcher 3 was, I think, the first one that was on PC, Xbox, and the PS4, so it was on all consoles, and it was a game that really pushed RPG and choice based to a great level, because I find there's a lot of RPG games that when you're playing them, you almost can see straight away. That's the good option, that's the bad option, that's the indifferent option. You can almost just see it straight away. And you have The Witcher, you just don't know. You just have no idea that you could choose that option, thinking, okay, well that seems good. And then before you know it, the whole village is murdered by some weird specter horse. And you're just like, I did not see that coming. And that, even that choice alone plays into a sub story and stuff. And I think that's another element that makes this game brilliant, is the stories. You know, as I just said, like you choose this horse thingy. I think the only other time, actually, just talking about the RPG choices, the only other one I've seen that where it's like you don't entirely know what the choices are going to be is like Baldur's Gate 3. Most others you can kind of just, you play it and you kind of go, yeah, that's what that is. But Baldur's Gate 3, you generally say dialogue options, you have no idea what the outcome will be, and you have no idea what how far along that choice is going to lead, which is beautiful. Again, why Baldur's Gate 3 is so highly regarded as an RPG. But we're not about The Witcher 3. And The Witcher 3, you have these choices, very dominant within the stories you play. Very much like the old, I think the very first book, The Last Wish, in the Witcher series of books written by Andrzej Sapkowski. Um, I think they were all a collection of short stories linked together by this Witcher known as Geralt that you follow. And the game does that. It has a main overarching story that you are looking for Ciri, known as Cirilla. If you've watched the show, you know that she is the heir to the Sintra throne that has been taken by Nilfgaard, the empire coming up from the south, conquering everything around it. And you know that, if you know enough, you know that she is the elder blood. She's the descendant of this great elven mage, and kind of everyone wants her. So you're hired by Emir, Emperor Emir, who's the Emperor of Nilfgaard, who wants to find Ciri, who's his daughter. And so you have to go find her, but you have leads. So you have to go to these leads, and so each lead feels like a short story, because not just go there, do one mission, go. No, it's a whole story arc. And I think the first one you deal with, really, the first one you're going to deal with, is the Bloody Baron. I think that's when I got truly, like, I liked it, but that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is something really special. Like White Orchard was fun and that was grand, and you do all that stuff, then the Griffin and all that, and you have the kind of civilian conflict kind of going on there. I'll speak about that in a moment. But when you get to the Bloody Baron, and the music there with the Bloody Baron is just incredible. It just paints a very somber, sad story. And the way the Bloody Baron is written and the way he's portrayed, you feel sorry for him, or at least I do, but I'm also like, yeah, but you are a dick. You are an awful person, which adds to the complexity of the world of The Witcher, which I love. And that in itself has inspired me. I think around that time I was writing a high fantasy book. I'm on the third draft. I put it on pause. But The Witcher, that complexity of character helped inspire me to inform me on how the world will be done. That's not going to be a black and white world. That there is going to be, your allies could become your villains could become your allies. Well, probably not actually do that because that's cheesy. But the idea that things can shift and change, and add in a sense of that, the kingdom wasn't so peachy. before the events of the first book, that like there was issues going on, there was discrimination and everything, and The Witcher would have helped inform that, as well as just life in general, the way the world is. But like that idea that the Bloody Baron is not so clear cut that he's a good person, and not so clear cut that he's a bad person. He's just a person. He's just a very flawed person who had pushed his wife and his daughter to the brink, that they had to run away, that they had to flee, which leads you on a whole hunt dealing with the old crones of the marshes, which are based on very much that's based on like the Hansel and Gretel story, which I love that. It's use of the old fairy tale fable stories that we have, such as Cinderella and the Hansel and Gretel and many others that are play into the story, but then it's that old gritty violent version of it, not the Disney version of it. um so that's like another thing that just made me go wow. And then you go to Novigrad and you have the religious persecutions there. All the non-humans, which are even those who practice magic, are burnt at the stake because they're not human. You go to Skellige and you have the political infighting there, because you go there and the king of Skellige is dead, and then there's this political thing of everyone trying for the throne. And I think that's a very, very cool. Each area has its own conflict. Novigrad is very crime. It's almost like a crime thriller. Then the Bloody Baron is a very like sympathetic, tragic story, and then Skellige is this like political story, which is just which is awesome, and depending on the choices you make depends on the outcome of those scenarios, and then depends on the outcome of the entirety of the continent afterwards. If you don't do certain missions, Redania could win. King Radovid, the Mad King Radovid, could win, and thus all dwarves and halflings and elves and dopplers and sorcerers and sorceresses and witches burn at the stake, and Emir is dead. And even though naturally we would always assume that the Empire is the worst choice because it's an empire and it's always just an evil empire, and actually no, Redania is worse. Radovid's worse, and the Empire is actually the lesser of two evils. Which, if you've watched the TV show, the Netflix one, you will know that that's a big thing of Geralt, is dealing with the lesser of evils, or not getting involved at all. But if you don't get involved at all, I think that's how Radford wins. And even that alone, and when you have Nilfgaard, they've taken over this area known as White Orchard, which is where you start and you learn a lot of the rules. And I will admit, the onboarding, which is where Chris and Adam get lost, the onboarding is a bit annoying. Constant text boxes popping up every time you press something, and that's a bit annoying. But the area of White Orchard just being taken over by Nilfgaard, the barkeep having to take down the Temerian lilies because it's Nilfgaard now. So she puts up the Nilfgaardian sun. And if you go back to that inn, there's another cutscene where a drunken woman decides to smash the barkeep's head off the table because of the fact that the Temerian lilies have been taken out and the Nilfgaardian sun has been put up. So this brilliant aggression of split among people in this patriotism concept, that some people go, well, we're Nilfgaard now, we need to have Nilfgaard sun up, and then other people go, no, we're still Temeria, we should have Temerian lilies, and then this clash of patriotism, while the barkeep is just trying to do their fucking job, and then they get caught in the crossfires. And in that same village, you have a guy commits arson against a dwarf because he assumes that the dwarf is getting fat off the riches of selling weapons to the Nilfgaardians, while everyone else suffers. So they hate the dwarf, even though the dwarf's been there for nearly their entire life. All of a sudden there's this, and so it plays very well again in Novigrad as well, with the Redanians against all non-humans. It plays very well on the idea of extremism, the idea that for the people of White Orchard, for the people of Velen, for the people of Novigrad or Skellige, that they can all just pretend that all the evil and bad in the world exists in anything but them. So they are justified in doing heinous, horrible things. Because don't worry, I'm the good person. They're bad because they're not human, or they're not my clan, or they're Nilfgaard, or they're Redania, or whatever it is. And so you get this really good sense, which adds to the isolationist feel. Because you're a Witcher who works on his own, you get to really analyze that. The nitty grittiness of every side. The no side is actually perfect. Nilfgaard's not perfect. Temeria's not perfect. The Scoia'tael aren't perfect. The monsters aren't perfect. Even the monsters in it are not your clear cut. That's a monster, you have to hunt them. Some of them are good. Some of them are intelligent. Some of them are actually um, kind of tragic, and that the humans are at fault, not the monster itself. Uh, and then there's different ways of tackling those things, uh, which is like another fascinating area. And again, if you were part of a party of people, if you were part of a group of people, you're part of a faction, they'd probably do an idea. It's one faction is good and the other faction is bad, but because you're on your own, it allows you to observe everything in a much more that doesn't seem right, or that seems like the better option. And sometimes you have to make deals with the devil just to get what you want, which is answers about Ciri, your adopted daughter. Which even in that I think is a much better way of balance, because you're looking for clues. So you have to do these long quests to get these clues. I think Fallout 4 does something similar. You're looking for your child, but there's just something about it. Fallout 4 that's not it's not paced as well. There's no real reason to do side quests, I think, in Fallout 4 when you're trying to find your child. It doesn't make sense. But in The Witcher 3, they're able to do it very well because you're looking for evidence. So it leads you down these paths. And so therefore you might end up doing side quests, or you might end up doing hunts and stuff like that. While you're there, you have to earn a bit of coin, I suppose. So you'd fight beasts and everything. And sometimes then you play as Ciri and you get to use her elder powers. You just feel like a fucking superhero god. It's awesome when you use her. Um, but it's cool seeing her. She fights like a witcher, but then she uses magic, which is a little bit like Yennefer, her mother. It's not the magic that Yennefer would have taught her, but it's still a magic, um, which is a nice like combination. While then Geralt has his Witcher abilities and the Witcher signs, and it's one of those games as well that you don't need to play the others. I didn't play the other two. I didn't have to to read the books, and I got it. I got the world. I got what was going on. It explains everything. It explains where Ciri gets her powers from. It explains why the main antagonist Eredin wants her, who's the Elven King of, oh boy, the Elven King of the Elven land where he comes from. It's like the realm of the High Elves or something like that. High Elves in kind of quotation marks. He doesn't really use that terminology, but they are particular elves. Um, and then Emir wants her because she's his daughter, and she's going to become the Empress of Nilfgaard. The College of Sorceresses, or whatever they're called, they want her for her power to change the course of the continent. Like nearly everyone wants her because she's like a fucking powerhouse, which is great. It's very cool, that idea. So then, who do you think should have her? Which can inform your decisions. How do you talk to her? How do you want to deal with things? Even when you meet her, she actually makes reference to Cyberpunk 2077, I do believe, which is a very cool thing. Um, but yeah, so it's a game that honestly, as I was playing, that's the game that I've put the most amount of hours in. Now, I say that. It's not like 3,000 hours, it's like 596 hours, something like that. But it's the most. I I just play lots of other games too. But it's a game that I could put on again and I'd play through the whole thing again. No bother. I don't think there's a part of that game where I go, oh, this bit. It's just it plays well. It tells the story well while not excluding it being a game that you get to play. And the DLC then, the expansions. I mean, the company gave you like a bunch of like free DLC, like extra weapons and armor and stuff for your horses and just little tiny missions and stuff like that for free, which is just so fucking cool and so good. Which then, when they released their expansions, of course you bought them. They already gave you so much, so you were like, well, I gotta pay them back for that. So you buy your Blood and Wine, you buy your Hearts of Stone, and they're fucking brilliant stories. They're really good. I mean, Blood and Wine unlocks all of Toussaint. It's a whole new region now. You're like, holy fuck. That's such a cool, even that's such a cool story to do and to go to. I think the area where it falls apart the most is the villains, is the Wild Hunt in Eridan. Their motivation is cool, um, but they do have a lack of presence in it. But their designs are cool. I mean, Eridan does just look like Sauron, pretty much. But Sauron looks cool, so Eridan also looks cool. And the idea that they travel on a ship known as the Naglfar, which is from Norse mythology, and the Nagel, you know what I mean? And the Wild Hunt is actually, that's just European. That's like all over the place. Many different people had the Wild Hunt, and this terrifying force, that spectral army of elves that ride in like reapers to cause frost everywhere, is because they ride through the white frost. Which is going to get us to the point of why Eridan wants Ciri. Ciri's power is capable of stopping what is known as the White Frost, an apocalyptic snowstorm. That if it gets to your world, you're fucked. And you actually get to go to worlds that were affected by the White Frost. And it is desolate. It is dead. Buildings absolutely covered. Which gets us to probably one of the coolest things about the Witcher universe, the conjunction of the spheres, which sounds like a fucking Trivium song. It's badass. And it's this idea that all the worlds come together, portals open up, and then beasts just get thrown all over the place. So the reason for all these different types of creatures and trolls and ogres and vampires and humans and elves and halflings and dwarves and all these other things is because they just got thrown together into this world, and now they're all fighting for survival. And I think that's so cool, because then it leads to aggression. Everyone's aggressive because everyone wants a piece of land, but there isn't enough land for them trapped in this continent area with these creatures and with these other people who all have different ideas. And I just think that's such a cool explanation to how you have so many different creatures in a piece of land. So they all just got thrown together, implying that there are then worlds out there with life. And again, you as Geralt with Avallac'h, who's an elven mage who helped Ciri raise her powers, or train her powers, like you get to go with him across the lands, across these different worlds with all these different creatures and different rules and things. And I think that is alone is a really cool idea. That's very inspiring in itself. So like the game just kind of keeps giving and it keeps giving, and the way it structures everything I think is so cool. The investigative mode that The Witcher is, plus the combat and then the magic, and you ride around your horse and you do Witcher hunts and then you do the main quests, and having these complexity of characters, having this beautiful score, with the ice, and then having the isolationist feel that allows you to analyze the good and bad of everyone and every faction there is. That is Nilfgaard really so bad because of what they're doing, which is usurping everyone's traditions for their own traditions, which can be considered bad. But then again, Redania will kill everything that's not human, which is mass genocide. So now you have to choose which one is better of the two, because you got it. You kind of somewhat need to choose a side, because if you don't, yeah, you might not have a good time. Because I actually had all the worst endings. I think Skellige was the only one that had a good ending for me. First time I ever played the game. Ciri died. Emir died. Redania just started taking over and killing all the non-humans. Skellige, I think, was the only one that had a good ending. So that was good indication to play it again. I then got all the neutral endings, and I played it again, and I got all the good endings, and it was great. I loved it. It was fantastic just to play it over and over again. And now I know how to get the good endings, but that doesn't mean I like will never. I'll stop playing. I'll probably still play it again because it's such a fun, enthralling, addictive game. I think I actually am on my fourth playthrough. May go back to it. I think I'm in Skellige because I love Skellige. Skellige is fantastic. I love it. And speaking of the things the game offers, keeps offering, we have to acknowledge, all right, the best card game in a video game ever. Queen's Blood from Fantasy VII Rebirth can go fuck itself because it's not as good as Gwent. Gwent is so good that even when a person asks you to find their missing child, you can go, Gwent? And they'll go, yes, of course we'll play Gwent. My child can wait while we play Gwent. Because Gwent is so fucking good. It actually feels like a real card game. Its rules are so good and so believable, I think, that I think it probably is going to become, if it's not already, it probably will become a real card game. But it just plays like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any of the other ones that exist. The idea of you have your siege at the back, archers in the middle, and frontline troops, and then you have like different cards give buffs and debuffs and all these different things, and it just works so well, and it's just the best card game ever. Queen's Blood is shit and go fuck itself. It's fine, but Gwent is better. Gwent is way better. What else? And the other thing, the last final thing I will say, because I don't want to keep you waiting, and this celebration of The Witcher 3 and all that's offered, the amount of awards that it got that it deserved all those awards, is that there's been a few different games, which is really what helped inform me that this was my favorite game, that I'd play and go, kind of wish this was a bit like Witcher. One of them was Final Fantasy 16. I kind of wish it was a bit like The Witcher. Because politically, it feels like it. Culturally, it feels like it. Thematically, it feels a bit like The Witcher. But then its maps are not as good as The Witcher. And you can't go to the cities like Oriflamme or something like that, which looks like such a cool city, but you can't go in. Which is that's a pity. And I kind of wish that you were like this lone wanderer riding on your chocobo with your dog Torgal. And then, yeah, you collect like a party, then you could bring the party with you and stuff like that on certain missions when you're leaving. But I wish there was like slightly more open regions. A little bit like The Witcher, the way you have the White Orchard region, and then Velen bleeds into Novigrad, and then you have Skellige, and then you have Toussaint. And I wish they did that. So kind of more open areas with a lot more civilized areas as you wander around. You can fight beasts and whatnot. And then obviously still have its Final Fantasy elements. And then at another game, I was like, no, I love this game. So I don't wish this was like The Witcher, but I wish if you got this and The Witcher and slapped it together, I think you could get something very beautiful, which is Ghost of Tsushima. Because that's everything I wanted at the time, and still is. It's like, yes, a game where you play as a samurai and you could swap as a shinobi, and it's not really hard. It's just story and character driven, which The Witcher also is character and story driven. And then get The Witcher and you slap them together and you play as like some sort of Ronin or Kensei as you roam this fictitious version of Japan fighting yokai and oni and stuff. And I think that would be a very cool fucking game. So again, even thinking like that, and then it's an inspiring part of my world building, that and Lord of the Rings, of course, with Lovecraft, because those are three cool things that I love. I love their worlds and mythologies that they all have. Witcher being something that inspired some of my creative works. Yeah, kind of really helped make me go, you know what, this could be my favorite game. And then I went back to play Skyrim because I was like, no, Skyrim definitely was my favorite game. And I was playing it going, I wish the gameplay was a bit more like The Witcher. Because it's the only thing holding it back after all this time. So I was like, Yeah, no, Witcher 3 definitely has. It's definitely my favorite game because even that has smithing, and I love smithing. Crafting shit is cool. I like it. I can't fucking do it for shit in reality. Probably why I like in video games because like, yay, I can do something. But I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I don't really want to bore you guys because this is supposed to be a collective celebration of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for its 10-year anniversary. And again, I could go on about why this game, why I love it, why I think it's going to be timeless with the themes and tones it deals with, the RPG aspect of it, the scaling, the balance of it, the music, apart from the yodeling music. That music, no, that's shit. In my opinion, that's not good. But all the rest, the ambiance music, like Skyrim, the ambiance music when you're going through Skellige or Velen or whatever, is beautiful. And it is a game with like one of the most quotable lines: "Winds howling." As Geralt is just riding around and roaching, like, "Yeah, winds are howling." Don't know what that means. Don't know what that's got to do with anything. Don't know why he pointed it out, but it was awesome because Doug Cockle said it. Because he is the definitive Geralt, with Henry Cavill doing a good performance, but Doug Cockle, like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, you know, Doug Cockle is the definitive um, Geralt. He was awesome. And I can't wait for The Witcher 4 playing this series. I think that's going to be very, very cool. I don't really know why people were giving out. The trailer was awesome. And I think the use of magic and being a Witcher and Witcher skills, I think is going to be very interesting. And I can't wait for that. And I think there's going to be a Witcher 1 remake using the Unreal Engine. So I can't wait to get that too, because I've never played the first one, so I really want to play the first one. So yeah, thanks for sitting in for this length of time and listening to me talk about The Witcher 3. I hope that was good. I hope you're like, okay, I get why he likes it. I do. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's okay. It might be one of my favorite games. No, I'm joking. It is my favorite game, definitely. Um, so thank you all very much for coming. This is the I'm Eric. In case I didn't say it at the start, I'm the only brother of the Brothers Take that's played The Witcher 3, which is why I'm here on my own talking about the game for its 10-year anniversary. Thank you all very much for joining and listening in. If you are wanting to leave your own opinions and everything, in the comments or whatnot, you can put in the comments on YouTube. Or you can touch base with us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. If you want to leave any comments and be all like, "Hey, Eric, you didn't talk enough. Talk more," or like, "Eric, dude, you didn't sound like you loved any of that. Shoot the fuck up." Whatever it is, hit us up. We're always glad to read your comments. We find them very fun, funny. So thank you very much, and we will see you for the official episode that then will come out. Well, this is an official episode. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.